Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League presented by WTRL. We are out on the greatest London flat for one lap, 31 kilometers. This is the America's East Division 1 that we're going to be broadcasting. I'm Nathan Guerra Dave Towle, and we had a lot of cancellations today, but it looks like now we're live and ready to go. So excited to have for some racing here, Dave. Oh, Dave, I think you might have muted your mic.
Sorry there. Got it. So I love this course, Nathan. Greatest London flat. It's 31K. We had some fantastic Premier League. I'm sure a lot of our racers who are out here today watched the Premier League last week. So, yesterday. A little scrambled here. So as we have the women out on course here, we learned a lot. Focus was the most important thing, that's for sure. Because with only 31K, there's not a lot of sections where you can make up a bunch of time if you're coming from behind. So certainly can't take your eye off the prize out there today.
Yeah, it was really interesting also yesterday in the Premier League in the ways that the splits changed throughout the race. There was a lot of changing up where you had early leads that got decimated actually later on in the race. That this course can be very punishing on the back end, really, that we learned. I think one really big takeaway yesterday was that the flatter sections up front in London, you can gain a lot of time, committing a ton of speed to the climb into the square, leaving the mall, heading on over toward the back ends of the streets of London. But if you left all your matches there and you headed to Surrey Hills and then leaving and then trying to exit the elevator without any power in the legs, that's where I think 30 seconds up to a minute even with some teams were lost there, because the back end of this course takes huge amounts of power from the entirety of the team rather than, this being able to. And we saw them drop off a lot of riders too. I mean, we saw a lot of teams come with only 3 to the line. Forward to the line. So I think that is a tactic for this course because of those Surrey Hill in the background, as well as the elevator leaving the underground.
Yeah, it's amazing how much time you can vaporize through that last sector that you're talking about, post elevator there. So yeah, this is one of the biggest challenges our team time trial teams are going to see to set the table for you. We're into week 6 of 8. This is the big community day of racing as we make our way around the globe. Already hundreds of teams have competed, but now we're into America's East. We'll have America's West to follow, and that will wrap up week 6 here. But so there is a table. We've got standings. It's important as teams are looking to be promoted, and we're getting to brass tacks here. Really, these last few races are where it's all going to be decided. And these battles that the teams have, maybe getting into the top 5 or the top 10. It's going to be really, there's a lot of close battles going on. We have the A and the C women out there first today. The men will be jumping on course a little bit later. Again, 31 kilometers. It's a little bit different than yesterday's Premier League as we're going to be taking the time. Well, the teams are a little bit larger and we take the time off of the 4th rider's wheel, but it's ATP Racing Venom. As you can see, 99 points on top of the table there, Nathan, but this is where it gets really close, 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, interesting to see their Stars to Pros closet. I mean, really, with only 5 points behind the Stars to Pros closet, as well as the experience that is on that team, I'd be watching out for them as well. ATP Venom, they have been walking away with it a lot, but I wouldn't count them out just yet. Finesse Wahoo Chicks, they're right there as well for that 2nd place, but they're sitting in 3rd. So there's a battle there between Stars to Pros that needs to watch their heels. Crouch and Gallopin there, 79 points in 4th, and then only 1 point behind there, trying to battle in for that 4th is Revo Whips. Then it's going to be Seesaw I Race Like a Girl in 76 points at 6th place, BRT Dark Kittens. And it's going to be Wadi Inc. In 8th place, ATP Stingers, and Misunderstood hanging out in 10th. The battle between 4th and 7th still, I believe, pretty wide open as well. So in the C category, then, it is going to be Tsunami there with 96, 92 for ATP Racing Hive. Wadi Inc. WC2, 83 points, tied it up there with 4th. Probably the best result across the line, though, is what's holding them there for 3rd there, sir, with Wadi Inc. as Revo Doves hang out in 4th. 1 point there with Margarita, so that's a battle for the podium actually, between those three teams, Margaritas at 82. BRT Flaming Kittens there, 80 points at 6th. Herd of Otters, 7th place. No Drama Llamas hanging out. We'll stop in with them a little bit today. Big shout out to them in 8th. And then it's going to be Cryogen Abisk, 56 points. And CCNS, Merry Cranksters. That is the situation for the Americas East Division amongst the women. Awesome to see all of the North American, and anybody else who's around the world there, Dave, hanging out amongst the women. Something that I've really loved about Zwift Racing is the fact that they it's done such a great job of promoting women's racing, getting, I think women in the limelight and seeing how competitive that they are. I mean, it's absolutely awesome to see. Some of the best stories that we see coming out of racing out on Zwift are amongst the women.
I completely agree. That's been really well documented across the board, all the way from the very highest level with the Tour de France virtual that happened this year. There were multiple top pro riders that really pointed out that Zwift stepped up and stood up for women's racing and said, we're going to get equal treatment. We're going to do this with equal prize money and respect. And it's been tremendous. And it really sets a standard. It's the future, no doubt about it. So, and also a lot of times the best race of the day. So I think if you love bike racing and you don't love women's racing, you're out of your mind. So we're going to put some really strong teams out there. Now, Nathan, there's some, what I would say are movement. Z-Sun, I noticed in both categories, leading in the C's is one of the Z-Sun formations, and then they're also in the mix in the A group. So what you're going to see also is I Race Like a Girl, Sisu. They've got a bunch of riders out here on multiple teams today, but I do see a big name to watch for. And again, it's a team sport. And if you're joining us for the first time, I can really take a step back and tell you that the WTRL, the World Tactical Racing League, our friends who developed this team time trial format, they started from scratch. Like they literally started with yeast, flour, and water and created the greatest bread in the world here with the WTRL. And it's into its 82nd, 83rd week consecutive, but it's part of this format. And that DNA was pulled right into the ZRL. And this is the community version. As I said, yesterday we raced with our premier group. These are the top teams. They qualified earlier in the year. Now we're with community. The top teams here are looking to advance up into that premier group, just like in the Premier League in English football. So now we are really down to it. The points matter. The points are based on your team. So as I say, an individual rider to watch, well, she's part of a team formation. So it's not just Catherine Curry, but I think it is cool that we have so many strong riders. That's a great place to start, Nathan, I'd say, is with that Sisu I Race Like a Girl formation. And we can start looking at the teams that are going to make up the competition here today. And you know what? Because of a little bit of scrambling at the start here, I forgot to get our split checks, Nathan. That's on me. But I bet you have them. And we'll be able to figure out.
Yeah, we're good to go.
Yeah,
we're on
great.
8:16, I believe, in 24. I'll double check that really quickly. Yeah, 8
Perfect.
kilometers,
31.
16 kilometers, 24 kilometers, and a total of 31, as you were going to say.
Perfect. At 31 total K of racing when this one is done and dusted out here. I'm going to jump right in with the Furiosas. All right. So, Nathan, again, so this is the bare minimum number of riders that you can have at the finish. So, nothing to mess around with here, but with 4 riders now, you have to be really, really aware of how everybody's doing. Make sure that you don't start creating any gaps because that's not going to do you any good. It never does, but it's even more important now.
Yeah, interesting enough to see with the Betty Squad Bs. I believe they were caught by Team Furioso, but perhaps, I'm not positive, because Betty Squad,
That's
they
a
have
little
fallen their way
quick.
back a little bit. It would be a little quick, so I wonder if there was a little bit of a mix-up there on starting order, or maybe they both just went off at the same time. Betty Squad has been losing time from the get-go in the B categories. I do believe that the Furiosas are an A category racers. Now, they do mix a lot of the teams in and amongst each other for these pens, just to make sure that we don't have a million pens going out. But Royal Circus, it does look like, is that going to be, is that right? Royal Circus is hammering away here to try and catch Royal City, looking to catch up to Furiosas here. And this is Royal City. We had a question about this team a few weeks back, actually, about where they were coming out of. Did we end up saying that they were on the far east coast of Canada, perhaps?
It was Toronto area. So I tell you what, we need to get a definitive answer
We
out there.
do.
Is
We
we that
do.
was yes. So Alexandra Cote. So one thing's for sure, Royal City, and it was our friend Martin at WTRL who actually knows. He is in Canada, an Englishman living now in Calgary. So, but again, I want to shout out the Royal City team that we're with here. As that's Heather Petrick that Nathan's zoning in on. We've got Nina Say as well, Elise Bolger, Dominika Jemnicki, and Allison Gibb, along with Alexander Coates, who I mentioned at the top there. So good work out there, ladies. This is an all Canadian squad. And, well, it's going to be a moment until we have some checks. So we'll have a chance to meet some of the teams that we're going to be along with here today. Again, so this is the ideal situation here is you start with the full squad of 6. That's the maximum number of riders that you can have. And as we mentioned, time taken off the fourth rider's wheel, but it's important to keep as many riders as you can for as long as possible because if you can keep them in the rotation, that just gives everybody a chance to recover a little bit more. We can talk a lot tonight about the strategies that teams use here. But I think, Nathan, I thought about it last night after we were done with the broadcast. And I think a big part of this is that if you are really skilled with a team that's doing recon drills and so getting together and riding a few times a week, just like a band, right? If you practice a lot, theoretically, you're going to get a lot better. But if you don't practice, you can sort of just limp along. And if you don't have a ton of time working together, you're never going to pull off the single file technique. It just takes way too much skill. Now, if you have a bunch of strong riders who just get together and race on Thursdays, and that's the only time that they ever do it, and they don't worry about working on that, you don't develop that super specialized skill that is team time trialing. Now, you can be really good at it and still not do that. You can even win if you're strong enough. So sometimes strength can overcome technique, right? I always remember in Criterium Racing in America, they say crazy can beat strong, right? If you're willing to take nutso risks. Well, there's no risk taking in team time trialing. It's more about who can be more precise.
Yeah, I'd have to agree there on the whole idea of really needing to practice this. From my own experience as well in the TTT, finding that time can be difficult throughout the week. And if getting everybody together, not just on race day, and practicing is so incredibly key, it seems like, because there is so much skill to this when it comes to the racing. I couldn't agree with that more. I really have noticed that this whole reality of the way that having to pull through at different times and making sure that you are in the right place at the right time and how precise those seconds are. I mean, it's really a half a second to a second. And go ahead, Dave. I mean, it's
Oh, no, Nathan, I'm really sorry. I was just really excited. What you do when there's a problem, right? Having that experience, just like, again, I'll use that band analogy. What happens when someone screws up? Well, a good band knows how to kick into the next verse, or you just have a plan for when you screw up, right? Well, a team that doesn't practice doesn't have a plan. But again, sorry to step on you there.
No, it's 100% right, because I've been in the situation before and seen a situation where the moment that somebody can't take a pull, the moment that perhaps the speed drops below what we had been looking to aim at, next thing you know, everyone gets kind of confused. You need one almost, and that's why there's DSs in so many of these teams now, because they need directions. Because when you are at the limit, just pushing on, there's no communication coming from you. You can't even barely breathe, much less speak about anything. All you're really getting is like, yes, I can. No, I can't. Yes, I can. No, I can't. Any kind of real serious thought that's going to be going on. You might be thinking about what you can do here, there, and that, or the other, but giving everybody you need to do this at this time and doing the math in your head about what's coming up next. We've tried to do it with riders as well that are a part of the team. It just doesn't work. Like it, unless you, and then maybe you show up with an order, but then even when you show up with some sort of marching orders, that doesn't necessarily work out that well, because what if it doesn't always go to plan. You have to be dynamic in the moment sometimes and make changes. And those who have practiced, they have a DS and they know how to make changes quickly, right? So, what happens in this situation? If somebody can't take a pull, who's going to be the go-to people? And unless people are ready to step up immediately. And then sometimes you ask the question, should I? like, oh, I might be ready to, but that moment right there where you were even asking, should I? If it's all about speed, that's inefficiency, and TTT is all about efficiency.
Very well said. We just watched a clean pass there. I wish we could take that clip and show it to everybody who wonders how do you do that, because that was perfectly executed by both squads there. But this team is absolutely flying right now. So, all right, the teams are starting in reverse seed order. So, just going to hit some of the bullet points for you with 31K of racing. With the teams that were fastest previously are the last ones out on course. So they'll be the last teams coming through at that first 8-kilometer checkpoint. That's where we get our first snapshot of the times. But that will tell us a lot about today. Nathan mentioned at the top of the show, however, that this is one of the courses, Nathan, where you have to finish this race. So you don't get to coast home here, even though there's no significant climbs. And I think that Greatest London Flat is a bit of a misnomer. Kind of what they're talking about is that you don't hit Box Hill here, but other than that, it's not particularly flat. It's really a challenging 31 kilometers of racing, that's for sure. And this team is working very well together. Nathan, the entire time that you've had the camera on them, I have not seen one gap open up, not even a minor gap that they had to weld back. This has been solid riding by the Royal City women's team.
Yeah, they're actually doing a really amazing job with this blob formation. It seems like they've taken up. Not really getting any separation. We'll see if it can get them a win, though. A lot of times when you do not have the pressure on the front too much, it could be too calm amongst the riders. So looking through for some of the heart rates here, it looks like no heart 153 here currently coming from Jamaica here. So I'm wondering if perhaps there's a situation here where they're kind of rolling through a little bit more, getting the best that they can. But Petrick here on the front, maybe they are purposely though blobbing up here and saying, no, this is our best go at it. But it's definitely interesting that it's not strung out too much. But they're doing a great job of this formation. So solid on them.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to grade that on 100, I'd put them in the 92, 93 range. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be room for improvement. I mean, even the Premier League team, Heino, has room for improvement, although, man, they are very, very close. If you want to see close to perfection in this discipline, take a look at what they're doing out there as they're dominating in that Premier League on Mondays. This is Sisu, I Race Like a Girl, the Freya edition. And another team, Nathan, that comes in as serious contenders to take the win here today. No question, this is a team to be watching. ATP Racing Stingers, however, this is a team without any doubt has been setting a standard. I'm looking here, Nathan. Today I have one rider that's dangling off the back of the team. There might be a couple question marks about what to do here. Here's a good example of, okay, and maybe just a little bit of, who knows, but that rider looks like they're coming back quite quickly here. So crisis averted. I think a rider was going back to see if they could help, and you see that they're just going to come back together here. So, okay, no problem. All things considered, that could have gotten a lot worse.
We are starting to get some splits coming on through at the 8-kilometer mark. Good to see. Misunderstood, actually, with a solid ride here at 12:21 so far. So we'll see if we can find them out there. Are they actually ahead of ATP Racing Stingers? Kira Sports there at 12:38. There, Cryogen Marie Blanc, and then Revo Go Divas there at 12:40. CCI Race Like a Freya that we're looking at currently, I believe, at 12:50 there, and then it's going to, 12:53. And then Royal City Women that we were in with that went out first 12:54. With 20.8 to go. CCNS Ladies, 13:21, holding on to 8th. And Fearless Furiosas at 13:28. Betty Squad there, 15:50.
So if I remember correctly, Misunderstood came in at 10th team to start. So that's an outstanding. We might see things readjusting here a little bit. But again, let's take a look at what we've got as an 11:40 for Sisu, I Race Like a Girl do. So that's a new quick time there. 17 seconds back for the BRT Dark Kittens. Waddy Inc. Washington at 12:16. Okay, so that makes some sense. Looks just about right. There we go. That is right. All right, Lieberman, Shoop here with See So I Race Like a Girl. You can see they have the fastest time right now, and they are in that single file formation that we were talking about, Nathan. You can see a little bit of correction making there. It looks like the stronger riders, one of them, Catherine Curie, they're going to stay up in front there, not going all the way to the back. Doesn't need as much rest. A little bit of scramble here.
Yeah, this is the team that's going to be battling it out here for that top four spot, I believe, currently out on course. So good to see Donith as well as James and Curry, Kathy Curry there. One of the team leaders, I would say, hammering away and getting a solid time so far, 11:40. But it's going to be the Finesse Wahoo Chicks, who are currently third overall in the series, taking that down by a solid 14 seconds. They're going to be waiting, though, for the next teams to jump out on course. They're going to be coming through in just a moment, and that is going to be we're looking in the standings. That's going to be Tsunami and excuse me, not Tsunami, but Racing Venom and Stars the Pros Closet are the next ones that'll be coming through any moment. So you have to watch out for the times here at the top for those top three spots. That's the battle. Remember, it was 99 points. Let me actually go ahead and show this one more time here, as this is really pertinent to what the times are about to be coming through. And it was 99 points, 94, and 91 with Finesse Wahoo Chicks there. So be on the watch out. CCR Race Like a Girl, they are in the battle there for that fourth. So, and they're holding on to a solid time still in the splits.
I don't know, this might be the day for Saris the Pros Closet as well. It's going to be really interesting. Nathan, I do want to follow up on the Royal City question. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Gelf. Gelf.
I remember that
is the
being
name.
said, actually. I remember
yeah,
that.
it sounds like it's from Game of Thrones to me, like where hobbits or something are from. But Gelf is the answer there. So I didn't want to leave people hanging. But yeah, I want to get back to my thought. As we look at Sisu I Race Like a Girl, they're definitely a top three team. They could win today. I'm really going to be interested to see what we get out of a ride from Saris the Pros Closet as well. All right,
jump in real quick with James Joseph Barnes. This is actually a streamer as well, and been around for a long time in the world of racing on Zwift. Been in and amongst some of the top teams for quite a while, and has a lot of experience. And for him to jump in, thanks a lot, James. Appreciate it. And he says there is a massive skill to get smooth changes and keep the bunch surging forward. And I couldn't agree more there. He was saying that this is a very tricky course as well, as he was racing it earlier today. So I think, I think that it's becoming a little bit surprising to some of the riders, because it's been such a talking point for so long that, oh, it's just watts. Oh, you're just putting, remember, you'd be familiar with these situations where sometimes they'd have lined pro riders up at Criterium weekends and, just have them see how many watts they could produce next to each other. And that was the competition for like 5 minutes or something. You seen these before, Dave? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And that's, I think that people have the wrong conception there, because you don't have the interactions of avatars that have the algorithms of, a copied reality. Not even a copied reality, it's its own reality. The drag coefficients might be a little different from in real life, but it has its own physics that are in the game you have to interact with. It's not just a wattage competition at all. And people are starting to realize this now because of the TTT. It kind of unpacked something. It found buried treasure where you wouldn't be able to see it unless you experienced it this way.
I agree. I mean, we were joking a couple of weeks ago about this is not an exercise competition. Even the team time trial, it's nothing close to an exercise competition. But I would add this: there's the psychological element of competing and athletes, and what is, how fast are you, right, for 100 meters, and then how fast are you when you're being chased by a tiger, right? A little faster, I bet. And it's the same thing. How hard do you work? What is your maximum heart rate? Well, it's higher when you're doing this, believe me. And I love that conversation, Nathan. So Finesse Wahoo Chicks having a great day here. This is going to be fun to watch, folks. So here we go. Let's lock it in here as I take a look at these 8K times solidifying at 8:26 is the fast time. Only 4 seconds back is going to be ATP Racing Venom, Saris the Pros Closet sitting at 11:38. So that's only 12 seconds back, and only 2 more seconds back to Sisu I Race Like a Girl. That's a really stacked top 10 or top 4 right there, Nathan.
What is happening here? Wahoo Chick, this is a stellar performance. Now, whether or not they can keep this together, I'm hearing reports also of confirmation of this idea that up front you can get an amazing time, but Surrey Hills, the leaving of the underground, up the elevator, the escalator, on over to London Bridge, these sections are key for this course.
Well,
so be on the watch out. We'll see if they can keep this kind of pace as Monks backs off there, pulled through 184. Now back to the front. It looks like a little bit here, but it's going to be Bolt now currently at 40 kilometers per hour. So now they're talking to each other. It looks like some chat is going on here. Disorganization. Keep the speed. Don't communicate. Oh, I mean, they got to communicate, but at the same time, if you have to type
call that,
and then you let go. Oh.
This is not as disorganized as we've seen, though. Look at this now. So, again, let's take a look.
So I meant disorganization in Discord. Excuse me. Sorry. My assumption there,
gotcha.
She said, you can't hear me. I'm assuming she's trying to push to talk right now in Discord, or she's trying to speak in Discord, and they're like, you can't hear me. Something's going on. So then she started typing in game. That's my assumption. No, they look like
I'm with
they're
you.
together.
Just look at this team. Yeah, that's not bad at all right now.
They're
killing
flying.
it.
They're flying.
Yeah.
You see now, but they're still communicating. So I think there's something going on in something somewhere, because there's
look how fast they're going.
Here. Someone say something.
I hear you.
I love it.
Let's give them some credit. That's Caroline, Danielle, Jess, Catherine, and Laura, the entire team. Paige just crushing it now. So this is a team. It's pretty mixed, actually, between Canada and America. Almost all the flags that you see for particularly this time zone. There is one standout. I do see Anna Russell is racing today out of New Zealand with the Ceres the Pros Closet team. But for Finesse Wahoo, who's having a heck of a ride, again, they're our fastest team. I'll be surprised if anybody's going to overhaul them. But ATP's only 4 seconds back at that last check and 12 seconds back to Ceres the Pros Closet. And I think that Sisu, I race like a girl, remembering they've got some real depth on that team, Nathan. I expect them actually to move into the top 3 before this is done and dusted. I wouldn't
be surprised. I mean, it's really close, Dave. It's super close at this point. Really, between 4th to 3rd place at this point, things could really, really change. And we saw that yesterday in the Premier League. Massive changes, up to 30 seconds in the last half. So now we are getting communication here. I want to give a big shout out to them at keeping the communication going, at least in game. Because when things fall apart with the voice communication, and the expectation was there for the voice communication to happen, then you're kind of in the dark and you don't know when to go, where to go, and especially if your pole order was going to be dependent on that voice communication, it changes everything. So kudos to them for having still a solid time, even with 1 or 2 riders unable to communicate in there.
Yeah, boy, and communication, Nathan, as you mentioned, is a huge part of this. You would think, can't they race by feel? But, oh, boy, there really is a lot more to it. When you peel back the layers of that onion, you realize that that's the difference. And I mean, today's going to be a good example. The team that wins isn't going to do it by more than 10 seconds. If they do it by more than 10, I'll be stunned. It could come down to tenths of a second here today. We're looking at the first times now coming through check 2 there at 16 kilometers in. So these times will get faster and faster out here. Again, this is a good look, though. We do start reverse seed order. So we're back with Finesse Wahoo. This has been this gold standard of today, but they only had a few seconds in the bank when they came through the first check, Nathan. So they absolutely need to stay on point here.
Cryogen Gallopin came through with a 12:05, but I am seeing them. What time did 11:26? So that might make sense, but Gallopin might be catching up a little bit here. There might have been some struggle. 43 kilometers per hour we're seeing currently here from Gallopin. Currently at 43-44 here coming from Finesse Wahoo. It'll be interesting to see what the times are when they pull through. Now we are seeing Anna Russell here from Saris, maybe just out on... Nope, she's actually hanging out with the rest of the team. The rest of the team maybe not loading in for me. We'll see if we can get them there. There they are. Stoll is here. Grossman's there. Eastler here. Bovo's here as well. So solid team. It looks like they might have been saving a little bit of something. Similar speeds, 43, 44 as we're saying. So I have a feeling we're going to see something extra special from them in the back end of the course.
They got the best player coach in the business with Anna Russell out of New Zealand for sure. Anna's a pro triathlete who, full disclosure, is a colleague of ours, but Ceres the Pros Closet here with Annabella Stoll Dansero. She's been phenomenal. I would have to say, Nathan, in this East Division, she's absolutely been one of the breakthrough stars. So Annabella is a rider of note. Esta is having a great. I mean, this entire team is talented. Esta Boval, Christina Grossman out of New York, and she just gets better every week out here. And Megan Easler on the team. So they started with 5 today, Nathan. Just to note that they didn't lose a rider, starting with 5.
Good call there. Good call there, Dave. 5.2 watts per kilogram is what it's taken to do 44, now 43 kilometers per hour. Keep an eye on that speed as we go through similar sections of the course, because that is what it's really going to be about as you watch each specific section. The wattages do matter. It has a lot to do with what's currently being felt for the suffering and the effort being put out, but the timing of it, as well as where how the riders are coordinating their efforts and they're surging through the draft that they're getting, as well as that little bit of a pickup that they get from the draft, that churn that you get amongst the riders. That speed can change by a solid 1 to 2 kilometers per hour, which is a lot of time if you do it consistently. So,
Well,
slow
Nathan,
here now, 44 kilometers per hour, 21 minutes into the suffering.
you know what the real killer is, Nathan? Is it takes so much to get it up to, let's say, 46 kilometers per hour, right? The real drag is when you let it drop down to 43, it is so hard to get it back up to 46. That's the problem, right? It just, that effort of continually having to reaccelerate is what breaks you out there. If you could just keep holding that 46, it's so much easier than going, from 45 to 47 to 44 to 47. You know what I mean? I mean, it makes a big difference. And with Christina Grossman right now, as the writer I was just talking about, so this is a squad that's going to benefit. I would have to say, doing the WTRL events, oh, that's nice to see. The rookie of the year in esports, Kristen Kolchinski, chiming in with the Go
Her
Christina.
good friend,
That's
obviously
nice.
good friend of Christina Grossman, both coming out of New York, and both making their debut year into the world of esports at a very high level, with Christina Grossman now racing in the top division on the Americas East amongst Cyrus the Pros Closet, obviously, a recent pickup. And then Kolchinski, who obviously got picked up by 2020 this past year and is racing in the Premier League. So really cool to see them cheering each other on as they're out here racing tonight.
I follow on Instagram. If you happen to see, Christina Grossman is a great story. She's a record executive at Republic. That's the biggest label in the world, actually. And her jam is adopting greyhound retired racing dogs. Have you seen that, Nathan?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, actually.
Isn't that
And
cool?
It's
It's
a
really
very
cool.
Well, I mean, I know a little bit about that, and the reality of these dogs, their whole life is essentially just about racing,
Yeah.
and then it's like, where do
Not a
they
lot of
go after
love.
they're done racing? When
Right.
they're done racing, essentially, it's you've retired. They've retired, and they don't have anywhere to go except for, because the ownership in that has more to do with the commodity sometimes, a lot of times,
Yeah.
rather than it has to do with the
Absolutely.
relationship built with a family, where the animal doesn't have a domesticated animal without a family, though. And so
But they're the
it's a
sweetest
very
dogs.
cool thing.
They are
It's
so
a very
sweet.
cool movement there then, because domesticated dogs definitely have a reality of needing that home, in the same way. Anyways, we get into a whole idea.
No, you're
of
right. No, I'm
philosophy,
with
but
you.
it's a beautiful thing. It's a
Unfortunately,
beautiful thing.
all those karma points, Nathan, that she gets for doing that doesn't translate into any kilometers per hour out here. You have to earn it, and they're working. They're looking really good right now. As a matter of fact, Nathan, as we started talking about the Greyhounds, they started coming together. Look at this now; they're flying at this point. So as you drop down here, you pay for that in a few kilometers here. It's going to be twisty and rolly, but the teams are pretty tight at this point as far as the formation. They look really good. This is Sarah's the Pros Closet. We're going to now switch teams. All right, Nathan.
Back
Here's
in
a
with the
pack.
no drama llamas. He's got Aaron Mack here from the NDL team. They're in the bikes and beers.
We love
like.
them.
Wadi Inc. though overtaking. It looks like most likely. I think that Wadi Inc. Are they WC2? I have a feeling WC2. I'm gonna take a look here at the overall standings for a second and get an idea of kind of where things are at between these two teams. As a catch was made, so that might be a big deal amongst them. Wadi Inc. WC2 will be in the top 3. No Llama Dramas here currently sitting in 8th place. So there's a pretty big gap between the two teams currently, where No Drama Llamas are hanging out in 8th place, whereas it's 3rd place overall for Wadi Inc. Currently tied up 83 and 83 with 3-year-old Doves. No Drama Llamas, the people on their radar are going to be Cryogen Abisk and the herd of otters that they're really battling without today, with a little under a 10-point split between them.
Well, you got to give the best names to the C women here without any doubt. Keep it up out there, ladies. Hey, Nathan, look at this. Okay, 15 seconds, but there's a lot to win and lose, in that last sector of this race. But coming in from 16 kilometers, these are the Czechs. 22:16 the time for Finesse Wahoo Chicks. 15 seconds back is Saris the Pros Closet. So they did move up into the top 3. Now they're hunting for the top 2. Is that Sisu? I race like a girl do in 22:40. So they're 9 seconds behind Saris. Saris 15 seconds behind Finesse. ATP Racing Venom holding on in 4th now with the 22:43. Then you move into the 23 minutes. BRT Dark Kitten sitting in 5th right now at the 23:10. That's the checkpoint at the virtual middle of the course. Not quite, but close to the middle of the course. As this is going to be break with the herd team. This is the herd of otters, correct?
I believe it's going to be herd of otters. I believe that's the only ones in the C category. So
there's a lot of herds, Nathan.
Yeah, herd of otters there. It says it right there. Herd of otters. There are actually a lot of herds. You're right. There are. And Wadi Inc., just obviously a step above the rest here in this C category, flying right on through. It is a part of being the first season, though, as well. The top teams in the division are going to get moved up to the next division up. So it's always good to see. I kind of, some might be like, oh, get in. The levels are too much. I like that we are getting the cream of the crop, kind of a situation, and then they're going to go into another field. I love it. That's a good thing, because then people who are in what was the D category or the C category, they'll move up and get new competition, and anybody who's at the top end of the A Premier. So I think it's a great development of the sport, and actually I like to see the disparities, because that it's working, because at the end of the season it's going to create
it all sorts out.
It's all going to sort out, and then you've got new blood in amongst you. You're not racing against the same old all the time.
I completely agree. Nathan, let me shout out the Wadi Inc. women. They're doing a great job. Ashley Konworski, Katie Mitchell, Kelly Rance, Lori Aho Uwinga, Michelle Henry, and then those are all Americans on the team. Susan Moot is the Canadian, and then another American here, Suzanne Turner. That's some solid work. You know what? They've been working on this, Nathan. You can tell. You've been practicing, ladies. It shows here. Solid effort. I mean, this is a clinic in how to do a team time trial coming from Wadi Inc. So, all right, looks like you're going to. Oh, nice. That's what I was talking about, the herds. Well, Nathan, and there's also, is there a herd of pandas?
Well, now
there's another herd.
Kit. This kit is actually like a zebra kit too. Got this. I love it that they've found a kitten game that has a little bit of a zebra look to it. And I mean, this one on the front here. Who's on the front here? This is going to be Fowler with the purple and white. Knowing how to dress, that's for sure. These teams with the great setup there with the purple hats and the canyon matching with a little bit of an accent on there. Very well done. Getting style points. Not going to get them the best time, but style points.
Attention to detail. For sure. The details go a long way out here. Herd of zebras. Actually, so there is a herd of swans, herd of otters. Oh, bobcats. That's the other one that I see. So, it's. I think that is it for today. But this is what I'm talking about in these families of teams. Cryo is a great example. Over 400 riders there. Another one that comes to mind is the Dirt group, the Dad's Inside Riding Trainers. We might see some of them a little bit later. We have quite a bit more racing to go today, as we've got the America's East men coming up. We've got America's West as well to look at here today. But I think, Nathan going to jump in with the Wolfpack here. We're back in with the A's.
Yeah, we do have a couple of splits coming on through. It is going to be Finesse Wahoo at the top there with the 1018. ATP Racing Hydrogen currently with the 1026. Cryogen is sitting in third place with the Alpe d'Huez team there at 10:28. ATP Racing Oxygen 10:32. Very close race still in those top four. Again, with this course and those back end climbs, I think that we still could see a big change between the top five. Maybe not out to 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th within striking distance of first place. But never counting anything completely out. It's still within minute time here. And if anybody was really holding back and they come on like a freight train at the end, we've seen some amazing, yeah, we really have. We've seen amazing things. So stick around with that because the men may see some change-ups.
You saw that right from 2020 yesterday. Speaking of Kristen Kolchinsky there, is they came back from, I think they were at 8th place at the midpoint of the race, came storming back to find a top 4 ride, which made a huge difference for them holding on to their second in that Premier League. And that's what we're talking about. This is a points-based series, 8 weeks of racing, and we're deep into it now. Week 6 of 8 underway here as we take a look. So just like the women, everything is the same: the distance, the course, and the rules. You start with 6 riders. You will just kind of watching the rider on the Tron bike here for the Wolfpack team, Lamb, and he's just in the rotation there. It shows you, though, Nathan, doesn't it? It's trying to keep that as smooth as possible when you go off the front to dropping in and catching the draft at the back. It's nowhere near as easy as it
nice
as the good
use of
teams
the
make it
super
look.
tuck there at 186 beats per minute.
Wow.
He was looking to get a rest. You see that? Oh, perfect. That was so
micro
well
rest.
done. It was for a moment. He got a little bit of rest there. Heart rate comes down only 1 beat, though. It doesn't look
I took a nap like that today.
Oh, man, he must really be at the limit there if his heart rate's only going from 186 to 185 and right back up.
So, Nathan, when you were talking about communicating, right, this would be a good thing to communicate to your teammates that, guys, I'm really there. You know what I mean? Like, and the time comes off of me at this point. If I'm going to be the weak link, you need to know that I'm about to die. So if you guys don't back off a little bit, you're going to put me up into the red zone too long. And then once you blow that gasket, you don't come good again for quite a while. You know, I mean, that's the thing. It's really, you don't want to play around with that. So now I think his team is realizing just stay in the draft. Don't even think about taking a pull. Just try to stay in the sweet spot here, and we'll just ease it back up and try to coax you up to the speed that we're looking to get to.
Thing is, Dave, they're about to hit the one climb, real climb out on course. So
what
this
a nightmare.
section,
yeah.
Oh man, and maybe his heart rate is 200s. Maybe this is threshold for him. So that once in a while we do see an athlete that beats into the 200s. We'll have to wait and see. I'm guessing that I'm betting probably not. But Lamb here from Wolfpack, we'll see if he can hang on. The rest of the team here, Carres here, we're seeing 171 beats per minute currently coming from him. Pole here out of the Netherlands, 173. So all these riders, I think, pretty much at their limit at their current effort.
All right. Yeah. As Nathan mentions now, this is the game-changing moment this is the gut check time out here on the 31 kilometers. So we call it a pinch point. The split is exactly the issue now. So again, time is taken off the fourth rider's wheel. So the 2 guys on the front now just need to soft pedal for a moment and go back and give these guys a wheel. A little bit of this is mental. A lot of it is physical here. And again, just trying to keep this smooth. It's always interesting to watch. And this is, for some teams, it's going to be the 3rd team time trial that they've ever done. For other teams, they're into dozens and dozens of team time trials because they've been competing in Thursday's WTRL. That made a massive difference. And to be honest, Nathan, 3 races isn't enough time to learn how to do this at an elite level.
No, and I'm 3 races deep, at this point. This will be my 4th coming up this Thursday, and I'm still trying to figure it out, so there's the single individual role, like what do I do in any kind of moment? I need to take orders, but sometimes, on the fly, I might be doing something, and is it the best to do it at this time? And there's so much learning that goes into it on that front. And, and then you give your feedback and the team figures some more things out. And when it comes to the meta, the meta strategy, that's currently out there, I still think the community's still figuring it out. And I think a lot of teams, though, are also kind of holding their cards a little bit. Like, no, don't look at what I got going on over here. There, it's some teams that are the top teams. They're sharing what they think, what they see to be the best ways to do certain things. But I still think that there's teams out there. One team that surprises me week in and week out is the BRT team, in the Premier League. They have some sort of, their watts per kilogram, almost half a watt to a full watt per kilogram lower, and they come across the line with, top 3. They think they could have won if they didn't have they had some sort of a mechanical dropout situation yesterday in the Premier. And it goes to show they're like, we got some secret sauce here that we're not willing to share with everybody. They're not putting videos out about what they're doing. And I have a feeling it's not exactly the same as what Stars Pro's Closet's doing.
Well, and I mean, when you look at that, Nathan, when you talk about if they're going faster and working at a lower watts per kilogram, their technique is better. That's a fact, right? Is there any way you could argue that?
No, you're 100%, 100%. The only other thing that could be is they may, if there is a physics algorithm that's a little bit different, where like maybe they're just heavier riders and on certain courses they accelerate, or maybe it's like they're heavier riders, 450 watts is what they can hold consistently, whereas Stars Pro's Closet are lighter riders that are going to have a higher watts per kilogram. So perhaps if that might translate over, right? So if you put a bunch of Nairo Quintanas on a TT course, they got amazing
on a super
watts per kilogram.
flat TT course. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then they're all up against Tony Martin's. What's going to happen to him? You know what I mean?
And that would be aerodynamics, right? So if you had a guy that was incredibly aerodynamic and a team that would be a huge benefit over a team that wasn't, that wouldn't necessarily be pure watts per kilo. That's a different factor, right? Or a team that didn't have any air in their tires. There's a lot of different things that you could do. But anyways, we're going back and looking at another.
Just caught 2 teams.
Yeah.
Like boom, just like that. Oxygen are flying. 2042 currently.
And that is. You want to look at indicators of how a team is going out here. Well, catching 2 is a great sign. If you're catching 2, you're going to be without a doubt on the podium and most likely winning the race, because not often do you see that out here. All right, so ATP Oxygen in full effect right now. They're hanging on with a nice squad as well. 5 riders here.
Yeah, good effort here by them. Wolfpack here, a little bit of a dig after they let them go by, getting their speeds back up. 63 kilometers per hour, 64 that you're seeing from ATP currently, so the speed's obviously higher there. Moving a little ways back, we do see the Dirt Alert team here. Dirt Alert currently holding down with a tie between them and the Meme team for 8th place, it looks like. So solid effort by them, and only a 1 second difference between them. So that's going to be a battle there for 8th and 9th between Dirt Alert and the Meme team. The Rulers Polo Velo only 2 seconds behind ODZ Sharknado with Wadi Inc. 2 seconds up. This is still really close racing between all of this here. And that's Wahoo. They have extended their gap. They have done some homework, it looks like, here, as they just soldier on at a 20:09 here at this point.
Yeah, when you look at it,
Dave, here they are. Davidson here now flying, and they're hitting the hills already. They're already into Surrey Hills.
This is such an impressive squad. Again, we've been talking about the teams that have been doing their homework, and this is absolutely one of them. They have set a standard that a lot of teams have been looking at. Finesse Wahoo, again, that we're talking about here, that 20:09. Although ATP Racing Hydrogen, Nathan, as you noted, these time gaps are, and with so much to play for at the end of this race, this one is far from over.
Now, Jordan Shane here. This is the Finesse Wahoo we were talking about. So there are 2 Finesse Wahoo teams out on course. So it was my mistake earlier.
And they're both leading, aren't they? Actually,
they're both doing an amazing job here currently. I think the other Finesse Wahoo team is a little further down on the leaderboard.
I was talking
here. Go ahead, Dave.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. We're with Jordan Shane here. This is the Canadian that has absolutely proven he's got time trialing skills. I'm just looking here, Nathan, and you can see that as you get outside of the top, well, so a 20:09 our fastest time. ATP Racing Hydrogen at this next check at 24 kilometers could very, very, well, I'm not going to say it's likely, but I'm expecting this to be even closer, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, we'll see how ATP Racing Hydrogen get on here because, they are currently the top-ranked team, I believe, if I'm not incorrect there. So, I mean, watch out for that. Maybe holding up a little bit. But, I mean, Jordan Shane, Hughesborn, Edward Park, I mean, this is a top squad. they are catching some of these ODZ boys who fell off the back, it looks like, are needing to wait up for some of the other riders, interesting enough. And so Lennox as well as Gagnon, it looks like Charbonneau, who else is out here? Justin Pierre-Ficati here trying to make something happen. One of the in real life Pro Continental riders who's riding for ODZ. But Finesse Wahoo making the catch, showing why they are currently leading this competition out here. ATP there just ahead of them. This is interesting to see here. I'm not sure which ATP this is, though, as the tag in game is not giving me an idea because there are multiple of them in the men's race, I believe. Go, good luck. We're seeing from Gagnon letting the Finesse Wahoo boys. That's good. I like the sportsmanship there between them. That's awesome to see.
So, yeah, again, to clarify there, so Finesse Wahoo has the Finesse Wahoo just standard edition and then the FWT Party edition as well. So that would explain why you see so many riders with that designation there. This is going to be just the Finesse Wahoo standard team. Daniel Yankus, Edwin Park, Jake Campbell. Let's see, who else am I missing here? Matt Osborne.
We're going to jump in with the women here real quick as they are finishing up their races here, and we definitely want to see what the times were at and how they were coming across. Finesse Wahoo chicks, they were holding on solidly with that 33.53. We'll see what the time was coming across. They extended themselves, extended their lead. Oversized the pros closet, interesting enough. As we just see BRT Hell Kittens making their way to the line, trying to battle it out up against the who's chasing them down? Cryogen Gallopin, perhaps, but I think Finesse Wahoo as well as tied up between Sisu I Race Like a Girl, though. We're right behind them here. Well, actually, it looks like CCR Race Like a Girl already coming across.
Wow.
A few of them got dropped off. So interesting here to see how this is end up working out.
Yeah, that was the Finesse Wahoo that I was talking about, saying that we had two leaders, right? The men's and the women's race.
Gotcha. Understood.
So now this is the women's version that we've got here. And again, this is their race, no doubt about it. But Nathan, look at this for a second. It's going to be right down to the wire, no doubt about it, as we're in now with the Furiosas. This is going to be Saris the Pros Closet, 4 riders. So they're down to it here. Every 10th of a second is going to matter, Nathan.
It really is. And we're going to start getting results in here in just a moment. As soon as we do, we'll start getting them up on the screen because it's going to be really interesting how this ends up playing out between them. And this is an effort to the line. Grossman now leading things out. It looks like Stoll now. Russell there, 6.1 watts per kilogram coming from her. From SARS out of New Zealand. Good effort. 290, 41 kilometers per hour. This is a little bit of an uphill grind. So this section can, a lot of times on flatter sections, even downhill sections into the finish line, it's not quite as big of a deal. But these sections like this, they are a huge deal to try and get across to that line as quickly as you possibly can. You can lose time.
That's a great job
on this. So Eastler, 42.
Yeah, look at that. You're not going to see teams finish as, really good job by Cryo Gallopin here as well. Now, let's see what we've got with Revo, looking for their 4th rider. A lot of times it's just off screen. All right, riders all over the shop out here right now. Finishing up for a lot of our teams. So the men are going to be down to it as well. So it's going to be interesting. Does Saris the Pros Closet or Sisu end up with 2nd? Or, it's not impossible that Finesse Wahoo Chicks doesn't take the top step of the podium. It was their race to lose. I think we're going to go jump in with the Finesse Wahoo men's team. So this is the fastest team out there for the men right now. Jordan Shane and company. Actually, I don't know if I see Jordan Shane with them right now.
He's only like 1 second back. Here. So what happened here is this section of course, it is where they leave that underground, that little escalator. It hits like a 15, 16, 17% gradient, very sharp. It's just 10, 15 seconds. Essentially a full-on sprint is what you take it at. Get over the top of it as quickly as you possibly can. And I think Jordan fell off through that section because it is about accelerating over the top. You might climb it very quickly, but if you give too much in that sprint and you cannot continue over the top, you will just have the speed that you had on a 15% gradient. So getting up to speed over the top of that is one of the most difficult things. And a lot of times I've lost races there and won races there. So Shane almost lost his race there, it looked like.
Well, it's funny. I was going to say, Nathan, that sounds a little bit like it's not how fast you go into a corner, it's how fast you come out of it. But that's actually not the case. It's really about just front loading as much power as you can, knowing that you can't get bogged down and going through that quicksand that would be that short, steep climb. So, yeah, I mean, that's where the gameplay comes in. It's not just about making X number of watts at a steady rate. There's times where having a surge of watts will save you a ton. Well, it save you a ton later, or just allow you to go faster. And that's really the name of the game here, is going faster.
Yeah, and looking back now just a little bit here, you do see the damage that is done by exactly what we're talking about here.
Sharknado.
Sharknadoes. We're seeing the Cat Toots got here now also from Endurance Works. This section, of course, this is what we were talking about. The back end is when they just need to let riders go because the most amount of time can be lost. And we do see riders who have put their work in for the team and said, okay, enough is enough. Go on, because I'm just going to be holding things up. So top teams currently still. Let's go ahead and take a look and see how the splits are doing here for the men.
Even better, Nathan. I mean, if you have 5 guys at 1K to go, you should sacrifice a guy. Have him go to the front. Take one last pull because you can afford to burn off one last engine there. And, I mean, that's what the super teams do. It's every little bit that matters. You're always looking for another 1% out there, and that would be more than a 1% when you talk about a finale move like that. So just supercharge that last K. As we go back in with Finesse Wahoo. Now they're making a pass. Now this is where it gets really tricky, right, Nathan? A little bit of a downhill makes it even harder to break that draft. And so this is tough to see. My heart goes out to these guys because this is really, really tricky, but it looks like they're going to get clear here. That's Finesse Wahoo in the blue jerseys, our fastest team out on course, as they're showing they're the alpha team today here.
Yeah, we do see their time should be updating momentarily. They are just past that 24K. It does take a solid 30 seconds to a minute, maybe more sometimes, for these times to update. So currently we do have Cryogen up at the top. There it is. There's the update as it comes on through. A 30:22 currently for Finesse Wahoo. ATP Hydrogen, they're sitting a full 30 seconds back at this point. So I think Finesse Wahoo are definitely walking away with this one at this point. But Cryogen Alpe d'Huez, not too far back, as you can see, with a 30:57. Still a battle for that second place on the podium as ATP Racing Oxygen.
Yeah.
31:19. So a big jump back there. And it's really a battle for 4th through, I would say, 7th, even 8th place as the meme team and Dirt Alert right up against it there.
Yeah, the points breakdown again as we're into the 6th of 8 races that make up the Zwift Racing League Series. Finesse Wahoo will take 20 points if they can hold on. Again, 30-second advantage at this point in the course with 5 riders riding the way they are. Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say that this is their race to lose, no doubt about it. But look how close it is behind them, and these teams are going to be looking for every point that they can get. So. Again, they're not quite at the point where they can start doing what they're doing right now here, as we're at 26.5K in for Finesse Wahoo. So I think stretching their legs a little bit, this team in blue.
Moving our way forward here, Jay Taylor, Wadi Inc., as you can see.
5% grade, right? Greatest London flat.
We've seen a lot of uphill gradients, haven't we? There's a lot of little digs, and coming into the square, like, this is the final real dig into the square besides that 1% gradient into the finish line. So definitely makes things difficult. And these little digs, I think everyone has to match. As you do see, 5.3, 4.7.
Like, you know that climb when you're going to the finish line in Harrogate? It's kind of like that.
Yeah, it's similar. Definitely similar. I think is a little bit
longer,
sharper.
a little harder.
A little bit sharper. But this one, I think, a little bit of an extended effort comparatively. But it's definitely important. I've attacked many times over the top of there. Attacked many times, and you can get a big gap. And if you attack over the top because you take this left-hand turn into a downhill gradient, huge difference can be made in speed, whether or not you do make that attack. So it's always good to see. Riders do that correctly. If you don't do it correctly, you can lose, I would say, a good 5 seconds right there to another team that does it right.
It's funny. I was going to say 10 because I mean, the point you made earlier was so accurate. Is when you go over the top of that climb, Nathan, if you're not carrying speed, boy, it is amazing how quickly the teams that are just dominating you. And this is going to be really the name of the game on a course like this is keeping the speed up, and this is what we're looking at with Wadi Inc. A. Right now, Wadi Inc., another team, I got to tip my cap to them. There's a lot of squads. I like what Wadi Inc. is all about. So as we take a look now, back in with the men, 30:22 our fastest time, 30:52 for ATP Racing Hydrogen, but that's where the race is, no doubt about it. 5 seconds back to the Alpe d'Huez version of Cryogen. So, all right, Nathan, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Oh, we're in with my favorite team, the Rockets. These guys are awesome. That's our man, Steve Beckett. I think James Lalonde is racing today, I heard as well. Look at this, the squad rolling like champs out there right now.
I'm
Pack
trying to
of
get an
wolves.
idea if we can see where they are in these results, but I have a feeling that these aren't going to be loading the results currently for where they may stand here. I'm going to have to get double checks that are coming in from our man Martin, but they're solid here to 38:30, currently at 27:30 in. So 27.3.
Look at their speed.
Solid.
This is
speed,
no
47.
joke.
Beckett pulling
Yeah.
through. Lalonde, he just did some sort of crazy halfway
He's a monster.
across. Well, it went from, I think it was from
rode
New
all of
York
Long
to
Island.
Niagara
Yeah.
Falls or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like some sort of crazy event that was recently done. So he's got the base in there. We'll see whether or not he's got the intensity.
I don't know if you find the high end. It's like 240 miles a day or something. Oh, it was insane. So, yeah, these guys, to be fair, a lot of our friends that work at Zwift. Zwift has a few teams that race in the team time trials, but
Check out
this
Beckett.
group has a
he's
great
like leading
spirit.
them on too.
Crushing it.
I mean, he's
Yeah.
like, what's going on here? Leading the team. So good to see. And,
Have you seen
look at the
his
bike he's
Instagram?
got. Look at the
Like,
bike he's
oh,
got.
yeah.
He's also got
Well,
the
and
most
he-
expensive bike in Zwift going on here as well. Jeez. Beckett's turned into the real deal here when it comes to racing in the B squads. So loving it.
No, this is legit. So this man is a wattage cottage at this point. So Nathan, if you follow Steve's Instagram, you can see that he's been out, he's been training, he's been climbing. They say when you're climbing well, you're going to be team time trialing incredible well when you have a huge engine. And this team is going nuclear right now. As we take a look, as the squad is clearly motivated here, carrying nearly 50 kilometers per hour through as they hit a flat section now. But that's the A squad, the Zwift Rockets, as we're going to jump around. It looks like you're back in with the hot rods.
Yeah.
It only took me 6 weeks to learn that.
To figure out that it was the hot
Restart,
rods here
right?
with
Yeah.
Restart. Yeah, ODZ. Restart ODZ. Nice little play on the name there. Good to see. These are long-time Zwifters. Ganyan like a canyon, making his way. One of the top riders, actually, him and Pierre Ficati, for a long time, were dominating. I would say 3 years ago at this point. So it'd be 3 indoor seasons ago that we were broadcasting races where it was Pierre Ficati, Boniface, and Gagnon. They were the top Canadians amongst the racing crew, I believe. There were a couple other names in amongst them, but definitely names that I recognize. And it's good to see them out here still and really getting involved in the Zwift Racing League as the sport develops in our first inaugural season. So it's very suiting to see them in and amongst the top teams in this division.
is.
Pierre Ficati now at 6.2, pulling right on through with Sherbanu. Go ahead, Dave.
Nathan, there's a little pride, isn't there, with the Zwift community when you see the teams that have been around for a while that are still competitive with everything that's happened and everybody that's come onto the platform. It gives a bit of legitimacy to what you were doing 2 or 3 years ago, I think, for a lot of folks where, that's really where the community started.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to see. It's
The Rachel Nealons, that those people that, were there when it started and are still some of the best. I love that.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to see that the reality. Yeah, there's the pride as well as the verification of those riders. As more and more riders get in, and we're seeing that they have been the real deal this entire time. They're still dominating at the front end of these races. It's amazing to see, as well as the groundwork that this is something that's been absolutely real when it comes to a sport that these efforts here coming from people's living rooms and their kitchens and Dempster from the bathrooms. I mean, it's pretty awesome to see. So as it's developed out of people's living rooms. So cool. Very cool to see.
Yeah, it has been interesting too, and then to see the level that people have taken it to, right? Have you seen Krista Doble Hickok's her setup? 3 different fans, or what? And it was nice to see that Lauren Stevens named to the esports world championship team for the United States. I think she's going to win it now. To tell you the truth, I guess I'm a little biased as an American, but it's an exciting time there. And Lauren was someone, wasn't it cool, Nathan, the way she embraced the Zwift community? She didn't come in as a hotshot world tour racer. She came in as someone who just was riding on Zwift, jumped into some community races. Immediately it was obvious that, well, this is Lauren Stevens and she's that good. But she never had any airs about her. She never asked for any favors, did she?
No, and I think that's definitely the way that you want to make it happen, because you got to earn your stripes. It's got to be in and amongst.
This is too hard.
It's got to be in and amongst those who. One thing is, it is very difficult. A lot of the riders who come in real life racing are blown away about how incredibly difficult, as well as how different it is.
It's a little different.
How the tactics
exactly.
are. So, one announcement on the World Championships that I saw that'll be really interesting is the Norwegian national champion Vidar Mael. We just saw this today. On that same note, is going to have Edvald Voltenhagen on his team, and it'll be an interesting duo there to see racing for the World Championship band.
Well, and here's the difference, right? Edvald wants to do it, and if he wants to do it, great. I think that's super cool. As a matter of fact, that's the ideal situation, to find the top world tour guys that are really into it, along with the top community riders who've been, proving it out here, and get that mix going. And that it'll be incredibly exciting as we look at more teams finishing up here. So, Nathan, it looks like 23 seconds is the split that we've got right now. So we're going to have a lot of data coming your way as we start wrapping things up. Quite a few teams have come across the line here. 31 kilometers done and dusted on the greatest London flat today. And a nice chance to jump around, too. Taking a look at the C women for a while. Where are we going next here, Nathan?
We're going to us. We're hanging out in New York. Where are we going next? Where are we going? We're going to hang out. So, we got the results coming in for the women's races. It's all finished. Some of the men's races still finishing up, so we're going to make sure that we let those come on through. But let's go ahead and take a look at how things ended up playing with the women's A and C categories across them, as they had a solid race. And we saw a little bit of surprise, actually, I think, with Finesse Wahoo Chicks, because the standings coming in had Finesse Wahoo Chicks in, I believe it was, a little ways down on here, actually. I think they were sitting in 3rd place, but they ended up walking away with it here today. Dave, why don't you take that away?
Well, and there's something to team time trial specialists, and I'd have to put them into that category. Congratulations with the 43.29. That's your fast time and your gold standard in London today. For the Americas East women, Finesse Wahoo Chicks taking the win. Sisu, I Race Like a Girl, do in 2nd. Only 21 seconds back. Saris, the pros closet, they're still right there. They perennial podium contenders, finishing within 30 seconds at 29 seconds back. ATP Racing Venom, a respectable ride, maybe not quite what they were looking for. Not so bad at the end of the day. 4th place for ATP, Crowdgen Gallopin in 5th. BRT Dark Kittens, Waddy Inc. Washington, Revo Whips in 8th. ATP Racing Stingers 9th, and Misunderstood rounding out our top 10. So that's America's East women. And again, congratulations to Finesse Wahoo Chicks after 6 races in the series. Nathan, I'll throw it to you for the C's.
C category women out there, we were able to jump in with them for just a little bit, and it was good to see. We jumped in with the Otters as well as the Zebras, so Herd was representing. This is the top 10 situation, though, with ATP Racing Hive. Only a 6-second difference between them and Tsunami, but Tsunami, I believe, are at the top of those standings. So interesting to see. Again, a little bit of a change-up. Have people been doing their homework? I believe they have, and that is going to get them 1 point over the top of Tsunami here. So I think the standings are going to be updated here as well, and we may see some changes. So Now, it is going to be the BRT Flaming Kittens there for third. Wadi Inc. WC2, 26 seconds back. Revo Doves, a full minute 14. And then a big jump back to Cryogen Abyss. Margaritas battled it out with the Herd of Otters, but got the better of them for 7th. And then Herd of Otters in 8th. CCNS Merry Craigsters, followed up by Sisu I Race Like a Girl Atlanta. And really cool to see all the different Sisu I Race Like a Girl. That brand really taken off in and amongst the world of Zwift, and I really like what they're all about, that's for sure. Let's go ahead and take a look at how things then ended up playing out for the standings here, Dave. It looks like ATP Racing Venom, they still got a 4-point lead.
Wow. All right. Going to be interesting there. It's at this point running out of real estate, but it's all still in play at the top of the leaderboard here with ATP Racing Venom sitting on 116. It's 4 points back to Saris the Pros Closet. Only 1 point separating them from third right now. Finesse Wahoo Chicks, who win today. They did themselves a huge favor, Nathan, when you look at it. So Cryojet galloping in fourth.
Real quick, I don't mean to interrupt there too much, but like, think about that. The difference of taking a win and another team maybe not having the best day. That's the difference, right? It was 91 and 95. They're right there and could take over that second place. And if they continue on that trend, they could get into first even. ATP Racing Venom, they beat them today.
Yeah, they're going to need to do the same thing 2 more times, actually. But that's how you do it. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Well, they took 2 or 3 bites today. So picking up then Cryogen Gallopin in fourth, but they're tied actually with Sisu I Race Like a Girl Do, who had a solid ride today. So they are moving up the table as well. Revo Whips in sixth, BRT Dark Kit in seventh, Wadi Inc. WA in eighth, ATP Racing Stingers ninth, and Misunderstood. They're at 61 points there in 10th.
In the C category, ATP Racing Hive have gotten some distance now at 112 points. Their Wadi Inc. WC2 hold on to second there. BRT Flaming Kitten still battling out with Tsunami. And then it's going to be Herd of Otters there in 5th place. I think Tsunami may have fallen a little bit in the standings, I think. Maybe there was a no-show for this week because the reality is I think they were sitting at 96 when we started. So that's a jump for all of the racers up ahead of them. Herd of Otters then 89. Revo Doves there 83. Margaritas there with 82 in 7th place. Cryogen Beast followed up by CCNS Mary Crankster and No Drama Llamas holding on right now in 10th place in the series. Solid effort there for them. Go ahead and see what is going on with the men's results then as they came across the line. It looks like we've got them all nice and updated here. So Dave, wahoo, taking out the men's and the women's side of things.
Hey, as a Wahoo-ligan myself, I'm pretty stoked. Finesse Wahoo, 39.09 for the win. ATP Racing Hydrogen in second. Cryogen Alp d'Huez in third. ATP Racing Oxygen, fourth. Meme Team in fifth. ODZ Sharknado, sixth. Dirt Alert, Wadi Inc. A. Rouleurs Polo Velo A. And then Endurance Works, rounding out your top 10. And that's today's result, the 6th of 8, our third team time trial. Again, team time trialing will be back in just a couple days. It's WTRL's Thursday coming up. Always something to look forward to. But Nathan, I'll throw it to you for the Bs.
Dirty Diesels hanging out with the 3.9 watts per kilogram. Good to see those. I like 3.9 all the way to 4. You see that with Wadi Inc. P2 going to show what the level, how even the level is here. 42.45 wins it though. Full 22 seconds back with Red Peloton B. And then it's going to be the Rulers Polo Velo 53.7 in third. ATP Racing Neon followed up by Wadi Inc. B2. WTR Bombers hanging out. Tight race there between 4th, 5th, and 6th. Only 2 seconds back then, still also with 30 watts. 1 second separating them, Velo Club Metropolitan. And then the RR Northern Rhinos, 125 with Cryogen Autocom. Where is that climb, Dave? I have no idea on that. I want to say Honduras for some reason, but...
Tour de France. It's in France.
It's in France. Thank you.
French.
I need to get my... I need to go get my map out here.
It's a monster. Yeah, it's one of they. I mean, in the tour they don't go to all the climbs every year, but that one is always a really cool day for sure. Let's take a look at the C's with Herd Mentality taking the win. Apogee Racing in second. You can see here that 46.27 was the fast time, but it was pretty close there between second and third because the Yavin Rhinos in third. In fourth, it's going to be ATP Racing Freon. And let's see here. We've got now our men's C's that we're looking at with the 45.02, the winning time for ATP Racing Nitrogen. The Dirty Grinders in second, just 25 seconds back. I'm sorry. You know what? That updated, didn't it? I apologize there. So that's going to give us a better look then at our fastest time at 45.02. So I apologize there. Dirty Grinders in second, Herd Mentality in third, Dirty Time 2 Grind in fourth. So Apogee Racing ends up in fifth there. Z Sunderwear in sixth. That makes sense as the RR Yavin Rhinos in seventh. The Dirt Station C2C1 in eighth. Crowdman and say Calabra in ninth. And then it's like a Star Wars robot. And then Endurance Nation C2C. I see why you'd have the difference there. It's that's 10th place there for Endurance Nation C2C. Good job, everybody.
There's
nice
no
racing out there.
C category on that, so we're just going to go ahead and jump on in with the standings after all this. And this will be it for us today with the finesse of Wahoo holding down solid at the top there with a 119. ATP Racing Hydrogen 108. ODZ Sharknado third place. Cryogen Alpduez followed by the Meme Team. They are crawling their way up the leaderboard, actually. I think they were a little ways down as they took out Dirt Alert, I believe, this week. Wadi Inc. A followed up FWT Party, Endurance Works, and then ATP Racing Hydrogen. So there are a few, I am being told there are a few C&D riders still out on course as it is a little bit behind there. So we're just going to jump into the Bs and then we'll leave it there. If you're looking for any more results, WTRL Racing, WTR.racing is where you can find all of the rest of the results throughout the night. But Dave, here it is for the Bs.
All right. Well, boy, they are sitting on 99 points. FW. So, okay. FW 3.9 at 99 points. Dirty Diesels with 92. I have a feeling this.
Want me to go ahead
shouldn't
and
we be at a.
give it a little bit of an update here?
I think we might want to update. There we go. It's not enough points.
There you go. There you go, Dave.
Yeah. All right, there we go. All right, FW3. I was going to say we're missing a race there. The FW 3.9 at 119 points. BMTRB2 with 102. Dirty Ducks in third with 99 on the Rivet Oost train. The West train, 91 points. It's tied with three teams stacked up like cordwood with Gotham Grinders and Dirty Diesels all at 91, 85 points for Lion D's Hearts. They're in seventh. Rouleurs, Polo Bello in eighth. 30 Watts in ninth. And WTRL Bombers in 10th. Sorry about that
awesome.
there.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And these guys, there's Martin. Oh, Martin's jumping in. Martin, what are you doing at the podcast there, Martin? Okay. ATP Racing Hydrogen here. They're at the top of the C's. Dirty Grinders. I think some of them are still filling in though, so I'm just gonna let everybody know these are still filling in as there's still some out on course. So go ahead and head on over to WTRL.racing for the situation after the race is said and done, as all of it does update. Got a little bit of a scene there into what it looks like behind the scenes, where all the data is processed with our man Martin Carew. That's so I have meetings with Martin almost every day.
It was underwhelming. I was underwhelmed.
That was essentially the Wizard of Oz situation, the man behind the curtain. Who's this man behind the curtain? So,
just some guy sitting there with the computer, you know.
Well, the concentration, though, is always pretty. It's like he's playing some sort of intense FPS video game, but it's
he's
just all
a genius.
Of your results. He is.
Yeah. All joking aside, Martin is a mastermind. I'd be if my IQ score was half of his, I'd be stoked. So would a lot of people around me.
All right. Well, that's it for us for America's East, everybody. We will be back on for America's West. I'll be gone. Kate will be where I'm sitting. And
we'll be
Dave
back.
will be hanging out here with Kate and doing the America's West broadcast. Next up, also be on the watch out for WTRL TTT on Thursday. Go ahead and if you are looking to do a TTT, you liked what you saw, you're really interested maybe in some of the tactics we were talking about. You can put a team together. You can find a team. WTRL's Facebook group does a great job of finding people and getting them into a team. People are out there recruiting, looking to pick up individuals. So if you want to check that out, registration closes tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central Time, USA, 7 p.m. UK. So go ahead and check that out. I'll be racing. I'm doing Zone 10 again, hanging out with the DDC. Still looking to recruit for my broken spoke vision a little bit here. So I'm gonna be guest riding for a little while. I think it's hard to find.
It's tough. Yeah.
Well, we're I mean, at that top, whatever. I feel like I'm just bragging at this point. So
no, there's not many guys out there. You don't have a big pool to select from. And almost all of them, Nathan, already have good teams. They already have a good situation, right? So you're going to have to start recruiting with like sending them cheese curds or something to.
We got those aplenty here in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
so
you do.
Hopefully those are a commodity somewhere else at least. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you in a little under an hour here for the next race. As always, everybody, you can check it all out over at WTRL.racing and ride on.